Welcome to Island Treasures mini podcast for caregivers. I'm your host and certified caregiver consultant, Allison Van Schie of Alongside Caregiver Consulting. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Cabin Teely Contracting in the Comox Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada, where we care too. The most recent full episode of the Island Treasures podcast was with Beth Douglas, sharing her caregiving journey for her parents who both had dementia and how COVID-19 affected her mom and her mother's care. Her parents' dementia experiences were different, but Beth was attentive to both, respectively. Beth explains how she used the art of redirecting, physical touch, eye contact, and a reassuring tone of voice, which closely aligns with the Teepa Snow positive approach to dementia care, which you'll also hear about. Beth has a gift of being able to see the silver lining in a very difficult situation. And now she uses what she has learned to help others who are dealing with loved ones who have dementia. Beth hosts the Senior Circle Stories, where folks talk about a topic and share their stories while they still have their own voice. Beth advocates for preserving memories by asking questions and recording answers in the form of stories. I mentioned to Beth that I had recently found video footage that I had taken when I was with my mother-in-law on what turned out to be a very special trip. I accompanied her as her caregiver. Now, this was over 25 years ago, and the term caregiver was far from my mind. In fact, I considered myself to be her lady in waiting. I want to share part of a recent interview I had with Linda Burhans in her show called Candid Conversations, where I spoke about my experience with my mother-in-law. Here's an excerpt.
I had been given a gift, an opportunity to be the caregiver for my mother-in-law for a trip. She had severe arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and she was reliant on a wheelchair. She needed help with her activities of daily living. So I was in a position, this is decades ago, where I could accompany her on this trip to Holland, her homeland. I didn't know my mother-in-law very well. And this was where the gift came, because I got to know her in a way that is amazing. So my husband had left home before he met me, so that's why I didn't know her very well. The lady in waiting came from me being her caregiver, because it was such a positive experience. And I revered her so much. She was my nobility. She was like the queen, and I was her personal attendant. So a lady in waiting is a personal attendant for someone of nobility. And I felt that that's who I was for her, with her, getting to know her, getting to love her, like sincerely love her. And it was such a gift. She was going for her mother-in-law's 90th birthday. And I was able to go to be the caregiver or lady in waiting for my mother-in-law. So it was a generational mother-in-law trip, and it was amazing.
When I was on that trip with my mother-in-law, we didn't know that within 2 months of returning home, she would pass away. So the video that I had taken became a treasure. And yet, I hadn't realized it until recently when I made the video into little vignettes to share with the family. And the reception that I received from these vignettes going out to the family members only stressed the importance of capturing the stories. They were very well received. Beth mentioned that someone has said to her, well, anybody can take a video of their parents talking about their stories. But the point is, people aren't doing that. With the convenience of cell phone cameras, it's true that we can record our parents' and our grandparents' stories. So let's do it. It provides an opportunity to hold space with our loved one and to truly engage with them, honoring them, and then creating a legacy through their story. I recognize how precious your time is, especially as caregivers. And so this mini podcast is designed just for you. And when you're able to listen to the full episode called Preserving Memories, feel free to leave a rating and a review. If you're in the midst of your own caregiving journey and need some supports, I invite you to tap into alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca. Thanks again for listening to this mini version of the podcast or watching the video version. And thank you to Beth Douglas for your wisdom and insights. If you want to check out the Senior Circle stories, you can find them on Facebook. Take care.